most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Racehour. As you can see, Stephen Cass, me, is back. And thanks to Dean Ryan for hosting last week. He did a great job, lads. I had a lovely holiday and Dino did a great job. I really enjoyed the show. We are sponsored by Gambling.com and Bet365, home of the position payout and now non-runner no bet, as well as regular ante-post on the site. Joined as ever by Diarmuid, Nolan and Tony Keenan. Dermot, how'd your weekend go? How'd you win in one punting wise?
I had a fairly flat weekend. I didn't really punt a whole lot. I had one or two bets on Saturday and one or two on Sunday, and I was down, but I'd say you're talking a few quid only. Cass was on too much. Good all weekend though, watching sports and everything else, but not a mad punting weekend. It's good to have you back though, Stephen.
Yeah, good to be back. Lapland recommended it all. But geez, you'd want to be landing a few ante-post accumulators to pay for it now. It's absolutely €12 a pint. That's the going rate, and then everything you go in for.
It's as much as a panini down in Cassinco, is it?
We don't do paninis now. That's very 1990s. Tony, how'd your punting go at the weekend?
Oh, absolutely terrible. I'm not going to have anything wrong this year. The only thing I got right was not staying up for the Super Bowl last night. Seeing as we have Sam Darnold alongside us here, it's a wonder he made it back after celebrating with the earned time delay. But yeah, that's about the only thing. Not staying up, I believe, was a terrible match for all accounts.
No luck for Tony. But a bad couple of weeks ago. Only one winning week, I think, between you in the last couple of weeks, the last 3 or 4 weeks. So, UK first. We'll do the UK review, Irish review. We've a few talking points to get through. Tony's got a few things to run through. We'll hear from Pat Cooney for Bet365, and there's a lot of anti-post bets being put up today, so that'll be good at the end of the show.
There's 5 or 6 of them, I think.
Yeah. So, Dermo, we did the UK stuff first, and a horse you are in love with. I've written down as Act of Innocence. I can't tell you, is it Act of Innocence or Age of Innocence? Nicky Henderson's horse with the Turners.
Act. Yeah.
Act, okay.
Yeah.
You were impressed with him?
Really impressed. Look, I did the old related double a few weeks ago after you mentioned it as well, Cass. I think I covered both of us. I really like him. I thought sometimes when a novice loses, they get particularly rode off by the market, which is understandable because there's only a few runs into it. But he was beaten by a horse called Manila Yoga. He'd give him £20 on the day. Like, had Manila Yoga, he could well place in a try for something like that. It wouldn't shock you at all. And this lad lost to him, but it was front running and everything else. There was 2 factors I really liked. One was that he stayed the trip. Now, look, it's only 3 miles, 2 miles, 3 and a bit around Huntington's, not exactly the most testing track in the world, but he still handled it all very well. He showed a really good kind of turn of pace at the end, hammered Sinatra, and then in second was Midnight Glance, who also kind of partly Frank's Old Park star as well. But what I really liked afterwards was Nicky Henderson. Tony often talks about trainers that kind of can give stuff away in interviews. Nicky Henderson's very good in an interview. He's very open as well at times. But what I particularly like noting is when he's particularly giddy about one. I said it before Christmas. One of the main reasons that I kind of fell in love with Old Park Star was he was really giddy after the race. You know, he was really excited. Same thing as this lad now. He was comparing him with Bouvardere. He'd no problem saying yes on him. He said he was very, very good. He said he's a real live contender. He even spoke about putting him away, which I think is a real sign of a horse. But he said he'd be killed if he did that. That all to me points towards the fact that Nicky Henderson thinks he not only has one good one, he's 2 good ones. And the owner about 2 weeks before this race before Cheltenham actually, he had said that this horse works alongside Old Park Star and the 2 of them, you couldn't split them on the running. He said both will win at Cheltenham. I do think that Barry Connell's having an effect on owners because they're all coming out left, right and centre saying that their horses are going to dot up. Now I saw same thing with Copac, the board's owners today. But yeah, Cass, look, I think he's really good. I've backed him a bigger for the Turners. I do like him in Old Park Star, and I just think the more we're kind of moving towards Cheltenham, the more that the English, particularly and Nicky Henderson, they really are swinging this year now. There's an awful lot of good horses over there, Cass.
Yeah. But I'm not going to disagree with you all day. I would disagree with him though. I thought high head carriage, and he didn't look, after the last 2 very good, but coming to the last 2 was having a race of it with a 127 horse. He's clearly a very good workhorse at home, but like you say, I'd say Nicky would say he works much better than Old Park Star. He was the one at the start of the season, but I don't think he's done it on the form book anyway. But we'll see. It'd be a big step up.
No, that's fair. But I just thought that yes, I agree with you, but I do think that Nico de Boinville has been trying to give him an Old Park Star a race all season, and I think he could have won by half the track if he wanted. It would be my opinion, but that's all retrospective just yet.
I'm going to jump over to Tony just for this one to see what he thought first as well, Dermot, because I think we're on the same page with Lulamba. What did you think of him, Tony, in the game spirit?
I only watched it once. I think the Arkle, like, every horse in it has got holes in it at the moment. Yeah. There's none of them at the front end. I'd be rushing to back. Maybe getting tight down the rail didn't really suit it. But just jumping over the first few, there wasn't hectic. Yeah. Like, doing a horse I liked there the weekend over in England was that Steel Alley. I like his way of doing things. He's a good jumper now and all that. To go back to your previous point, Chairman, I'll tell you something now. The top 5 doses of owners now is a tough heat now. Lads that are hard to listen to now. I tell you what now, it's some heat now. It could be the top 25. Some of the stuff lads are coming out with now at the minute is very hard in here. I'm not going to name names now because get myself in trouble. But maybe if they turn off, maybe when the lad comes at them with the microphone, they might say maybe interview someone else or put down their phones maybe.
Yeah. How many of them in Ireland and how many in the UK, Tony? There's a couple. The other side of
Ireland, I'd say he's talking about
both. I'd say.
I don't follow. I don't follow much English race. There's only Irish lads I'm listening to. So anyway, our trainers based in Ireland anyway.
Dermot Lulamba, but I thought he kind of nearly didn't travel a yard. Yes, he was very impressive at the end, but he just does not look a 2-miler to me. I wouldn't like to be taking a short price in the Arkle, but there's quite a few horses coming into the Arkle. Recommend with Steel Alley. Cover the two of them there in the one whip.
I will, and I'll also cover why Sam Thomas as well. Lulamba, first of all, I think he's just slow. He didn't jump great at Sandown either. He beat Lumsum that day, and like he hammered him, but the two of them kind of went mad in front of him, Lumsum and Be Aware. And the last day as well, yes, he's winning in open company. That was all the tweets back to me. But he beat Saint Segal. I'm really sorry. Saint Segal is a 120 rated horse in Ireland. He's got lucky this season that he's bumping into some horses that are way, way below his level. Like if he was running in Ireland, he wouldn't be beating the King of PRS or any of them. He's as good as that. He's just lucky where he's based. So to be beating him, it's not much form. His jumping is very cumbersome. I think he's very talented. I think he's very, very talented. But people were trying to say then that Altior hit a flat spot. Altior would hit a flat spot, but he wouldn't be losing ground, really. As in Nico just knew to kind of hop into him. Shishkin was the same. But you're hitting a flat spot on ground like that against really, really inferior horses. I'm sorry. Like Django Bay, he won an Arkle freakishly. That doesn't happen 2 years in a row. Moving on to Steel Alley, he was very good. But I do think this speaks as well volumes to what is a brilliant trainer, superb trainer. Steel Alley is excellent, but I think the advantage that Sam Thomas has over loads of UK trainers is that he knows how to read the calendar and he plots his horses really well. And this was a really good opportunity. He beat Mambo number 5, who didn't jump a yard, and he beat the Skeleton horse as well, who front ran. Wasn't much of a race, but he battered them and he jumps really well. He goes lovely altogether. I just think that Sam Thomas, the way I see it in the UK is that it's Skelton and Nicky Henderson. Then you've got Ben Pauling just behind them. Paul Nichols is catching up a little bit again, but Sam Thomas is firmly just behind them. And it's, I think, the most impressive part about Sam Thomas, and like it gets talked about, but not talked about enough, is he's brilliant at everything he does. Like last season, he got Al Dancer and he got him on a mark of 153, 10 years old. 2 seasons ago, sorry. And last season at 11, he gets him producing a career best. He's won Welsh Nationals with horses. He is just absolutely brilliant. This again, for the last 5 seasons, he's operating now about 11 years. The last 5 seasons, he's operating at a 22% strike rate. This year, it's 35%. And that is like 15 of his 26 horses now have won. The other ones have placed. He got Our Power from, I think he got him from Twiston Davis as well. He hasn't won with him yet. He's won about 100 grand of prize money with him. He's improving old horses. He's buying very well. He seems to only have kind of Di Waters there in the yard at the moment. That seems to be most of his horses. But Di Waters, it's a real mark of confidence. He's left every other trainer and all of his horses are down there with Sam Thomas. And I'm surprised that Sam Thomas hasn't got JP horses yet, or any of those kind of owners. Like JP has horses with a lot of I'm not naming names, but duds of trainers in the UK. He's got them with trainers who he's sending very expensive horses to, and they're never maximising. These horses are going off in favourites, left, right and centre, and they're not winning big races when the money's down. Sam Thomas, when the money is down, his horses at least go very close, always. And he's a superb trainer. But 35% of a strike rate, Cass, over a season is a phenomenal going. And Steel Ally has every chance at Cheltenham, but I love seeing a trainer mapping out a season. To have any novice chaser to go 3 for 3 in a season, it is really impressive. He's plotting them out really well. And God, if I had money now, more money, and I was buying a horse over in England, I would send it to Sam Thomas. I should have said there, if I had Stephen Cass levels of money, I'd be sending a horse there. But look,
yeah. If you'd Stephen Cass levels of money, you'd be. It wouldn't be to a trader anyway. It'd be down the road here to someone like that. Haiti Couleurs, Dermo. I'll talk about Steel Ally more, but we'll talk about it more later on, because I think there could be a bet in the Arkle, and we'll have a good chat about the Arkle. Same Tony. We'll skip Salvatore Monday and talk about him when we talk about the Arkle. So Haiti Couleurs, Dermo. Geez, I wasn't impressed. I thought Lampress didn't run his race, and then he'd nothing to beat really.
Yes, and Lampress troubled him long enough too. It wasn't like Lampress was gone from the picture long enough, and he ran frightfully close from a hard race at Cheltenham as well. Lampress, I think Venetia Williams sometimes her horses back up crazy quickly, but Jump travelled very well. It'd be a poor Gold Cup now if he was to win it. He's a very good horse. There will be nationals and all sorts of races in him. He's one of them that you'd absolutely love to own, but I would be disappointed now if he won a Gold Cup. On the same card there as well, actually, Cass at Newbury on Saturday, just to finish off the UK segment, just to back up that the UK do have an awful lot of horses. That Sober Glory was excellent. I don't know if you watched him. It wasn't much of a race now, but he was brilliant. And he's 16-1 now for a Supreme. That does show the kind of depth there in that race. I'm surprised still that Idaho Sun was taken out of the 2.5 mile race, because there's an awful lot of horses here all going Supreme. He looks very good. I thought he was really impressive. So yeah, the novice hurdle rank is very deep, and Haiti Couleurs, I think now the Gold Cup wouldn't be as strong as I think it is if he's winning one anyway, I guess.
Yeah, I'd agree. Tutti Quanti, Dermo. Any chance in a champion hurdle?
Do you know, we'll talk about this in a few weeks at the preview. I've come fully around that the nutcase, the New Lion's going to win the champion hurdle. I couldn't believe when I heard that a horse rated 138. Yes, he won this very well. Yes, it's a sign that Paul Nicholls is absolutely flying. I'm sorry, the champion hurdle is not that bad now. That he's going to come on all of a sudden and win a champion hurdle. It's not like, that chronic race could easily place, but still, he's won a. It shows to me more that the handicap hurdles in the UK are gone that bad. I can never, ever remember a top weight of the old Betfair hurdle being 138. I think that does show that there's something seriously wrong with the calendar. 138 top weight is insane for that race. It used to be like a horse would win that and go on to the Supreme and stuff after. It's really gone downhill. But no, I completely get why you would go to a champion hurdle, but I was laughing watching a bit of ITV on Saturday because my TV here was struggling in the rain, and I did think that when they were talking him up as a champion hurdle contender, things aren't that bad now, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. Epatante was 137 when she started winning in handicaps, and the Nichols Yard have been talking about this fella as nearly the best workhorse in the yard for a long time, and what he did was, like, would the New Line have done what he did off 137? He probably would, to be fair, but I wouldn't say there's many horses would have. Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
I suppose when you look at, like, would Nemi and Lime have done? Yeah, no, I can see your point there, but still, I still think Brother is a head beater. I think Golden Ace beats him. I think there's at least 4 horses there, regardless of it being a weird champion hurdle, that should be beating Tutti Quanti. But look, we shall find out. I wouldn't be ruling anyone out of bet. Backing him with those odds anyway.
What about you, Tony? 20-1 non-runner, no bets. He's only going to run us through soft ground. I'm sure you saw it. Would you give him any bit of a life? It's a funny old race, the champion hurdle, anyway.
Yeah, sure. Look, they may take the chance. I don't have a strong opinion on it. I did like that Sober Glory in the first. Like, his bad run came at Sandown, which, can like a bad run at Goran Park or something. The ground there is its own breed of slow. So knock him now in the Supreme, although making the running might be hard when there aren't so many late kind of chances in it. But no, I'd give him a small bit of a chance in Supreme.
Yeah, and Tony, the Irish stuff. We had the 4-year-old race at Navan. Saratoga caught the eye there, and then there was racing, at Naas, and there was racing at Navan as well, and Naas and Navan. God, I'll never get it. But
it's one of these weekends where lads are more interested in the handicap marks than they are with the kind of the race that happened. Like a friend of mine, I backed Saratoga on Saturday now. You know that because you asked me what the fancy in this. I said, I'll take a chance today, might be the day. Friend of mine said after one friend of mine texted me, she said, I didn't know it was a hands and heels race, he said, was the first thing. And then the second fella texted me, you know that race there? He says, the way it's going in the last few years is to just burn it to the ground and take it out of the calendar. Because it just has become this, euphemistically describe it as a prep race. And my God, you'd be brave taking 5-1 about him and a Fred Winter. I actually think that's a pretty terrible price. Yeah, maybe he is well handicapped, but I think I'd want 10 or 12-1 or 14-1 to actually pay to find out. There has to be a few more interesting horses in it than him. Maybe the one that finished last in the race could be one of them, because I would say he didn't handle the ground at all, genealogy. But we'll see. Then you had Sunday. Now I was really impressed with the winner of the 10 up here, Oscar's brother. I think we'll come to him at the end. But again, a lot of attention on the second here, the Wall Park, and what mark he's going to get or isn't going to get. Now, I would just caution with him. I just asked the question. I won't use vulgar language, but is he genuine? Because I have a strong suspicion that he hasn't been genuine for about 3 years. He's a tail flasher. He holds himself awkwardly. He doesn't jump great. He went through that real hot spell there, kind of summer of 25, started off in Kilbeggan where he beat Natural Luck. That race was totally and utterly set up for him. Then he got another one set up for him in Galway where they all kind of died at that and he come and pick up the pieces. Like he's grand when he's kind of Boston races. And then, look, he ran very well in the grade ones after that at Ascot and Cheltenham and things like that. But, God, I just wouldn't trust him at all in a finish now. I just think staying chases are tough. Tough horses win them. Battle, I think he'll just throw it in. I definitely wouldn't want to take a short price from for an Irish National or a Kim Muir or a National Hunt Chase. Like, maybe I'm going to look stupid now after that, but he's going to be taking up a fair chunk of the market afterwards. And to me, he just didn't look again. He's kept going late there after the race is over yesterday, but just doesn't look like a horse to fancy it.
He's probably 50-50 to get into a Kim Muir or a National Hunt Chase if the top is one. He's dropped a pound to 142 today. So
yeah, look again. I don't. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Wherever he turns up, whatever handicap he turns, he's going to be short.
Yeah. So Oscar's brother impressed you. Do you know who I was very impressed with? And surprised. I actually laid him. I thought he was one of the shortest, worst prices I've ever seen after Christmas was Jalan Dudairies, and he looked a completely different horse. Like, he looked tractable. He looked to have a bit of pace. He could be like given his bumper form, he could be a lively kind of an outsider. Maybe he's getting the hang of the game the way Jasmine DeVoe did and go and win a Bartlett. I thought he was hugely impressive.
I nearly threw my slip away because I put him up at 50s in October or whatever it was in this show. I nearly threw my slip away. But yeah, God, he was very impressive. But Gordon Elliott had mentioned that in his open day. I watched that open day before the DRF that he thought those 2 runs had brought him on massively, and that it was the first time he'd been happy with him since the injury. So maybe that was it.
Yeah, looked a completely different model altogether. Salvatore Mundi, Tony, what did you think of him?
Didn't see him, to be honest. Haven't looked back at Torres yet. I know the one he was the worst ground I'd say was in Torres in about 5 years. So yeah, maybe take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt.
He jumped brilliantly, I would say, but he got they weren't going near him, So, but he did jump exceptionally well. But because the winning distance was exaggerated, that's for sure. Tony, we have a couple of talking points to go through for you. One is the ground bias at Leopardstown, and I presume we're talking about the chase track here. The hurdle course just seemed to rise.
If you get the sense I'm a bit cranky here this evening, I am, because this whole Byrnes thing, I get this off my chest first and then we move on.
Okay, so Charles Byrnes.
Okay, lads, we'll start with the Byrnes case here. I'll start with them themselves. I don't know about you two guys, but I can count on one hand the number of their horses I backed in the last year. And I'd say in any year, I just don't back any of the horses. I backed one of them there last week and he was gambled on. He ran all right, whatever. I just think with that operation, like their horses are completely and utterly run for themselves and not for anyone else. And I know there's a degree of that with every yard in the country, but they're extreme. Like I look at form books and video analysis, and stuff like that, but all the conventional stuff just doesn't apply to them. I think I can't figure them out. And my kind of response to that is, and this is all just my opinion, I just leave them alone. I don't want anything to do with it. And there's a few of the yards like that, but we won't kind of go into it. Now, look, the case itself here, like essentially, to me, their defence and what the case ultimately found is like that Philip Burns is a bad jockey. I'm not a judge of jockeys now, but I would say they're correct in that kind of assessment of it. Like his fall and on-seat rate is way higher than the norm. And I suppose then people would ask the question, like, why does his father persist with riding them, with having him on board? Well, look, I suppose nepotism is part of that. A small part, I'd say a bigger part is control, and kind of the kind of operation at the yard, it probably suits them to keep it kind of in-house. But again, that's not unusual in the country. Like, there's loads of other yards do that, and you could argue the biggest yard in the country does that. So yeah, that's the Burns operation. But really, what I want to talk about here is the IHRB investigation. And this is absolute aftertime of the highest order. But reading the stuff that came out about the case in December when they kind of released the evidence and that, like, there was very, very little chance of them having any chance of succeeding with a prosecution here. Particularly to do with the betting evidence, which to me wouldn't stand up under any scrutiny at all. So just for people who aren't familiar with it, like at the time, the BHA's kind of integrity department was monitoring the markets for the IHRB, and Nick Luck had kind of talked to them last week for his show, I think on the Friday, and he said that they flagged it up on 3 kind of separate occasions on the day itself from Wexford in what was a Mayor June, and yet they were absolutely no part of the case by the time this hearing came round in December. And they've actually just since been replaced as what apparently seems to be a cost-saving measure with something else. Like, we don't actually know. Now, what they had in the hearing kind of in December was a company called Idero, who, again, looking up at the website, describes themselves as an AI consultancy empowering businesses with intelligent automation. That may well be the case, but the one thing they don't understand is exchange markets anyway. Like there's a number of different quotes here that their CEO was kind of speaking at the thing. I kind of at best a very limited understanding of exchange markets, and at worst, well, just not really having a clue. Just stuff about like you talk about the volatility of prices and the volume of money coming in at various times. Like all stuff that would be very, very standard in any kind of exchange market. Even the most inexperienced person would look at a Betfair, a Matchbook, or a Smarkets, you kind of in the last 20 minutes, 4 days, you'd just be seeing this. This is just kind of how it unfolds. Now, what seems to have happened is that the BHA, again, were finished with the IHRB at this stage. The IHRB put out for someone to kind of do their evidence here, and they were the only crowd that came forward, this Idero crowd, and they couldn't get anyone else. And then there was kind of, I think it was the Charles Byrnes side kind of asked the guy from Idero, like, what are you kind of covering the market, watching, I suppose, of Irish racing at the minute? And they said, well, you know, procurement is still ongoing, and they were trying to establish a commercial relationship. Now, I'm just looking in at this, and I'm just asking the question, like, who's watching the markets for the IHRB? Are they doing it themselves? Is it one of these? Is it Idero? Is it someone like them? Is it no one? Which is kind of be a kind of a scary thought. Like this is not now a great kind of vista now for anyone who's kind of concerned about integrity in Irish racing. And I have a few thoughts on this. Like, I would just suggest that something to do with AI is completely unsuited to nuanced observation of betting markets. You're dealing with very smart people and potentially corrupt people, and they're a dangerous mix. And I would say they can walk around any model that is designed to spot whether they're up to something, right? Secondly, the BHA, right? I'm not saying the BHA monitoring Irish racing was a perfect solution, but I'd say it was a pretty good one. They have lots of experience looking at markets. Britain, like say in 2025, 3.5 times as many horse races as in Ireland. They're looking at this stuff all day, every day. The other thing that's massive is if the jurisdictions are linked, same horses, same trainers, same jockeys, and most importantly, same punters in this case. Like if there is integrity stuff, I would say you're far better having a big picture of both jurisdictions rather than just Ireland. And again, the other thing is, Leslie, if you've wrong ones in Britain and you've wrong ones in Ireland, I make a fair stab that they kind of work together. You know, like if getting on to something that's a bit hooky is what you're into, it doesn't stop at the Irish Sea. You know, that kind of way. Like I would say, like, look, it's amazing how people of Lake Main kind of find themselves with Lake Mains. And obviously that's totally evolved. And this is the massive elephant in the room here now. Like, if someone is laying a horse or when it's not fancied or whatever, today isn't going to be the day. I would doubt very, very much it's happening on a public betting exchange in someone's own name. There are a raft of options now, black and grey markets and stuff like that, and very scary vista if you're kind of thinking, I say, about integrity. Now, I'm not suggesting the IHRB are ever going to have access to that kind of stuff, but please can they just get the basics right in terms of watching these markets and kind of following up on stuff that seems to me to be fairly obvious.
Yeah, fair play, Tony. It's a good look run through that. You've obviously read the case in detail, and you'd wonder as well, if you're saying they brought in an AI specialist to talk through, like, that's essentially talking through market moves and volume and so on, which is just data reading. Could the IHRB nearly not present this stuff themselves with a betting understanding? There's plenty of brains in there that understand horses and betting and markets. You know, I'm sure they could bring some of this stuff in-house.
Paddy, the Leighton Aspel stuff was very interesting as well, I thought. Leighton Aspel was basically saying that it was the only way that you could look at it, this was that he jumped off, and then Davy Russell afterwards was questioning him. It was just a strange case how Leighton Aspel and Davy Russell were nearly there on the same day, and they both had wildly different takes on... I'd say Leighton Aspel was being genuine, a straight shooter enough, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, look, the way they set the witness is the guys giving evidence wasn't great. Like, one guy rode an awful lot for Byrnes, and Leighton Aspel's an IHRB employee. Like, they just needed to go a bit more external there, and yeah, you know, still try to present it a bit better. Like, that was the he said, she said type of job.
Yeah, completely cancel each other out. Yeah.
Will we move on from this, Tony? Talk about the Jays boys?
We will. Yes, lovely.
Because in fairness, myself and Dermo aren't as up to speed on it. We've read the stuff and listened to the podcast, but you've clearly had, it's more if you want that answer.
It's anorex stuff for most people, but yeah, if it's not just the Wild West out there, but some stuff wouldn't sound great. But anyway, look, back to actual racing, what people are listening for. Look, I had a message there from a sharp lad there on Twitter that Marmaduke Jinx does a good man on the speed figures in the French race, and he just is looking at Leopardstown there the weekend. It's every race on the chase track was kind of unfolding the same way. You know, was that outside real dead? He says that wouldn't be the usual way, and he lists off a few examples. So I said about to go back and have a look, and I'd say he made for point. Stephen, you did mention it. You said the Paddy Graffin, the week of the meeting, they're after pumping this water off, and there's a video there of him, I think, on the Wednesday, and he says, we're after pumping the water off into this wooded area behind me. It's out to the outside of the track. Maybe some of us have to coming back on. I don't know. Extreme weather, one way or the other. Visually looking at the race, and this guy might have a point, and it might be an interesting way of just looking at the DRF. So just to go through, the last 4 or 5 years, like, I think the gallop in the Shamstrood around the Leopardstown chase track has been the way to go. Stick to the outside. You have a chance. Down the inside, seems to be very hard to win. But this past weekend, the Sunday and Monday, it seemed to be more the Mark Walsh route than the gallop in the Shamstrood. So just to start maybe with the Gold Cup. So 5 kind of horses broke free in the Gold Cup there, went clear. Fact the Fail was the one of the 5 that was closest to the inside, maybe towards the middle of the track. Obviously, he won really well. And Gaelic Warrior, while he was outside for a lot of the race, when he made his move from 2 out, he kind of switched to the inner. So that kind of would back that up a bit. Then you have Majborough. Walsh obviously controlled that race. He got a lot of pace in front after Solomon, kind of just didn't fancy it and that. But to me, he would have had the option of going right round the outer. But he actually stayed more towards the middle. Was that a decision? Was it not? To me, for a jockey of that kind of capabilities, it would look like a bit of a decision. And then Cade Doty, he was always on the inside of Final Demand. And was definitely more down the inner. So that middle route seemed a bit better. Now, there's one or two other things that kind of has me thinking in mind of this. The Irish Arkle, like, Townend looked to have Romeo Coolio after jumping 2 out, and then he kind of pushes the mare out to the outside, and very soon she's starting to tread water. And then when he kind of switches her again after the last, she comes more towards the middle, and she kind of finds again. I just wouldn't be 100% sure in that race. Was such a strong pace. It's a bit weird in horses idling and kind of dying or whatever it was late. But just another interesting thing. Then you had 2 kind of mad horses to me running big races down the inside. Like Firefox never gave any indication in his life now that he wanted 3 miles, and he was kind of staying on 4th in the Gold Cup. Golden Joy, same trainer behind Jacob's Ladder, always would have looked like a weak finisher over 2 miles, finishing off strong enough down the inside in a 2 mile race. They're both of those with new equipment. So I'm just wondering, is it that? But there's a few little bits of things that build up to say maybe the outside was not the place to be.
Yeah. Like Townend wasn't having the usual Townend domination of the outside, and he stuck to it. And we saw where it went with Cargeese, and we saw where it went with Gallopin. And Mark Welch obviously was going inner middle. And you know, a horse that really highlights it now for me was In the Pocket in the 2 mile handicap chase, because Mark Welch was given a lot of forceful rides, as he did on Magsborough, and he did on Kate Doughty, and he did on In the Pocket. Like, you wouldn't say In the Pocket's a front runner ever. Like, he was always held up, and he went like the clappers and looked coming around the bend, looked like he was going to go out the back of the telly, and he stayed on the inner where he was. Jacob's Ladder actually went out wide, so for him to win was more impressive. And In the Pocket was only beaten 9 lengths because he stayed up the, you know what I mean? That's another, I think there was a golden highway inner to middle for sure. And it is, I had flagged this with you that this could be the case, but impossible to punt it. You can only be right after it away, because you don't know which one is. You could have taken on the Townend rides, knowing he always does it. But he'd be the only one. You could have said Cargeese. I actually backed Cargeese, and in hindsight, you'd be saying to yourself, probably shouldn't have known the Townend was going to do that. But I think it's going to have a big effect, on thoughts going into Cheltenham. That's for sure. The Diarmuid, did you want to add on that?
Not particularly, no. I just kind of noted as well that I thought when Patrick went out of his way to bring Jimmy Desai out there after the halfway point as well, just to back it up a little bit more as well. And Jimmy Desai died an absolute death. I still think there's something wrong with him since that first run of the season. But him and Paul Townend seemed to walk the track at the same time, because they both had decided that they were going to do the kind of similar action, and definitely didn't help any of them. Would you two lads, have you any not rule formed obviously, but would this be in your heads when it comes to a Cheltenham, like horses over 2.5 miles? Do you think they will feel that at Cheltenham?
Not just 2.5. I'd say Magsborough.
All of them, like across the board.
Yeah. I think Magsborough had a very, like, you'd nearly try and pinpoint them and take a view. Like Romeo Coolio, I thought was absolutely legless crossing the line. I know that he's saying, Jack Kennedy's saying he was idling. That I thought he looked like a horse was going to stop at the line. So Romeo Coolio for me is out no matter what. I'd be against him. I thought Magsborough had the run of the race and a very hard race, and a horse who I thought had a really hard race. He went out wide on the bad ground, was free, and then Patrick Mullins hit him at least 4 times at the back of the last, was Gaelic Warrior, and I thought he had a desperate hard race now after already having 2 tough races this season. And I'd be a huge Gaelic Warrior fan, and I'd be very worried about him. I'd be really worried about him going to Cheltenham.
He ran some race actually, didn't he? When you think about it, he ran some race.
Sure, he got a poor ride, and still, he was out wide, and he was free, and he encouraged him to be free by bringing him wider nearly. And I just felt his performance could be hugely upgraded. I thought he ran a cracker.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
I don't want to go near him in the Gold Cup, because I think he had a really, really punishing race. He should have been sat up on at the back of the last. In my view, because he was clear at third and he was never getting anywhere near Factor 5. So I don't know why he had such a hard race there. Tony, are you going to, off the top of your head, which horses would you be thinking, God, I might steer clear of him or forgive someone?
Well, it has made Factor 5 and Magsborough look amazing. It's not the first time they've looked amazing in their career, so maybe it is true, but they're not going to be hard. The both of those are going to be favoured for whatever race they run at Cheltenham. And they both actually have negatives at Cheltenham. The Factor 5, if he does go for the Gold Cup, still has to prove the extra 2.5 furlongs that he stays at. And Magsborough, just maybe the ground. I maybe the track setup it shouldn't be as advantageous as it was at that time. One horse that I thought probably shaped well kind of against the base was Kim Rock of Joseph O'Brien's.
Yeah.
Like obviously, if you're out there, like not only in the worst of ground, you're travelling further than everything else as well. Like it's worth travelling further when the ground is better. But the other thing with Kim Rock is like the 4 horses that beat him, what was the one ones backwards exactly? They were all held up to various degrees. He was up with the pace, a strong pace. So he kind of had
Waterford Whispers was up there as well, though, wasn't he? Waterford Whispers was up closer. He was.
He was the one, But not as close maybe as Kim Rock. The only thing about Kim Rock, I just didn't love his finishing effort the couple of days at Cheltenham that he ran this season. I just wonder, is he a little bit empty in the finish? But he had excuses to be empty now in the Leopardstown Chase for sure.
But it does also, Tony, back up as well to a certain degree with the outside. Does back up as well. And Mercia, I'm probably going to back her, I'd say, for the Cork County Hurdle. She went, I know it's a hurdle track, but still she went very wide as well.
I'd say I'm just going to call that a stones ride for a minute rather than necessarily one that was against the bias. I actually just have no idea what he was doing.
Yeah, the way Paul Townend brought her wide and the way she finished, like she didn't finish that because I watched it the first time and went, she fell out the back of the TV. But when I watched the back, because I'd backed her to win only, so I was happy enough. But not happy enough, but I was happy to leave it go. Watched the back. She actually rattles home. She just misses the last and actually flies home to be 9 lengths or something behind him only. So Mercia, she ran probably just a stones of a ride, in fairness. Yeah.
Okay, an unusual week where we're not espousing the virtues of Paul Townend, but it definitely wasn't his finest couple of days, that's for sure. So we're worth looking back on all his.
He's
rides.
a little bit Paul Townend, because I only watched this all back during the week as well. Townend and Final Demand probably share a trait in that I don't think either of them like it when they're being hassled too much. There's been a few times at Cheltenham too where I'm a massive Paul Townend fan. Just to back that up before I sound very harsh on him, I think Paul Townend's up there with Barry Geraghty, Ruby Walter, any of them. I think on his day, I think he's absolutely unbelievable. But there's been a few times at Cheltenham where he hasn't liked when Rachel Blackmore's cut the nose off him, or Jack Kennedy cut the nose off him and Rachel Blackmore that day when he won the Gold Cup on Manila Indo. I don't think it does any of them any good when they're getting freebies out in front all winter in these races where jockeys don't want to get too close to the Mullins hot pots for handicaps down the road, and then all of a sudden Gordon Elliott sending over Sean Bowen to get involved with a few of them in these races. I don't think Paul Townend liked it too much at Leopardstown, how Gordon was sending his jockeys out clearly to have an all go too. Yeah.
Well, great to see anyway. Is it? That's
fantastic.
And like he does have an edge to him, but sure, they all do, and I think he carries himself as a champion. I mean, he'd be hard pressed to pick out one or two small things he's ever really cribbed at over the years. Like, and he's a gentleman, and if you ever approached him with a child or something, like he'd jump in for a photo, and he's a great fella. He's a great fella, but he stole the rides all over the place last weekend. But sure, he'll be back. He'll be back. Right, we're now going to hear from Pat Cooney from our sponsors, Bet365. Joined now by our old friend Pat Cooney from Bet365. We missed you last week, Pat. I was away, so I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. And you were up in Newbury at the weekend, or down in Newbury for you. Best track in England, Newbury. It's fantastic.
It's a great track, isn't it? And it's a very fair track, but it was quite demanding on Saturday with the heavy ground, and the weather was quite testing for all the race goers, but plenty of Cheltenham clues there, I think. But again, we left the track thinking, that was impressive, but we were doing our calculations on very testing ground, and it might not be the same again at Cheltenham, but be interested to see. But there were certainly some good performances there.
Question, Pat. Do you know the old school? I presume this doesn't happen anymore. Remember the old days, like a bookie might hedge a position on the rail. I presume that's completely gone. Is it? Like you'd never be told go down and have $5,000 on something to cover a book or cover a position. Is that a thing in the past?
Yeah, I think so. The days of hedging are gone. I think it's much better controlled nowadays than it was when I was first started in the industry years ago. It's much more controlled at source, and the name of the game now is to get to the 4 days of Cheltenham with no big headaches in the ante-post book, because that just puts you wrong for the rest of the market. So fortunately, we're in pretty good shape. Although we've got a few that were races at the meeting that we'd like to have back. Put it that way.
Yeah, you've teed me up there, because Dermo has me under instructions. We have a listener's question in to ask the biggest ante-post losers, especially you guys went on no bet last week. So I think Dermo he kept me to ask. I've lost it. I had it written down somewhere. what's your biggest ante-post losers with the non-runner no bet? That's the question. Your top three.
Yeah, well, I do it in reverse order, if you like. Number 3 is Narcisco Haas in the Triumph Hurdle, which has just continued to be really solid in the market. And, when that one won last summer, it just drew praise from every opposing owner and trainer. So that's been very popular. That one's going to continue to shorten up. I can see that one being nearer to odds on the day in the Triumph Hurdle. So that's there at number 3. Factor File in the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Non-runner no bet has been extremely popular. We were 4 immediately afterwards. Still has to prove he gets the extra trip at Cheltenham. But again, that's another one. I think people are looking at that thinking, if it gets there on the day and it is a certain runner, then it's just got that look about it where that one's going to shorten up. And number 1, top of the pops, Constitution Hill. This horse just won't go away in the public's affection, really. All roads lead to Southwell on the 20th in the flat race. We wait and see what that race is going to tell us about his champion hurdle claims. I don't know. It might tell us more about the well-being of the horse. But again, he's just one of these horses that people think, non-runner, no bet. What if he absolutely dots up at Southwell on the flat and he is back in business? And it is a wide open looking champion hurdle now, isn't it? Where you're probably picking holes in the front runners, as indeed you are with Constitution Hill. But he's our main liability at the moment since we went Constitution Hill non-runner a week ago last Tuesday.
What price Constitution Hill non-runner no bet, Pat?
I think he's 9-2 now, yeah. So there's a school of thought that, he could be as low as 3-1 on the day if he gets there. But a lot has to happen between now and then. He's not going to go short of publicity, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, at least him at Factor 5 kind of makes sense. You could see Factor 5 going up 2-1. You could see Constitution Hill going up 11-4. But Narciso Haas, he's nearly about as short as he is going to be on the day. So I wouldn't really see the non-runner no bet. An interesting non-runner no bet one, I thought. How impressed were you, Pat, with Tutti Quanti, who won the big hurdle race at Newbury? You were there. Like, did he blow your socks off live? And I know you guys are 20-1 non-runner no bet, which is big enough to me.
Yeah, we're just watching the race, and my mind went back a few years earlier to Make a Stand when he won this race, and he just belted off in front, and no one got anywhere near him. But thinking about the race again, a lot of horses didn't turn up. It was really testing ground. The Skelton horse who went off favourite, never at the races. The other one, Warren Greatrex, got hampered. You just wonder, what did it beat? But he would have beaten a lot of horses that day. But interestingly, the time wasn't that amazing. And Harry Cobden, after the race, he was more inclined to say he's one to look forward to over fences than champion hurdle claims. But I think he'll only run it in the champion hurdle if the ground is soft. And if that is the case, he's going to be blazing along in front. I do worry about how good he is. It's all very well said, it's a good effort under top weight. But he was only top weight of 138 as an official rating that day. In days gone by, horses 150 plus have won it. So he still has work to do. But you can back him now at 20-1. And I think he probably won't run unless it's very soft ground. So it's one of them. If he does turn up on the day, granted soft ground, he could easily be a single figure price. But whether or not he can do that again remains to be seen. But it was certainly very, very easy on the eye to watch him just absolutely destroy the field. And didn't he jump well?
Yeah, he was good. He's a horse. I always think of him when he comes up because Freddie Gingell did a piece at the start of last season saying that this fellow was basically the best horse in the yard nearly. It was certainly his favourite horse. So he obviously always had loads of ability at home, and he's still only 6, like maybe he is improving. Lulamba, of course, was the big attraction at Newbury on Saturday. Oh, God, Pat, I wasn't impressed now. I thought made hard work of it, and Nico was busy. Yes, strong at the line, but what price for the Arkle now? Short price given he looks a stayer, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, we were 6-4 before the race, and we went 11-8 afterwards because, to give him his credit, he did beat the older horses. And after the first half mile was out the way, he did look the most likely winner, certainly turning in. It was a good performance. Top class horses have won this race in the past. But the consensus of opinion, most people were like you. It was a bit, okay, fair enough. He did struggle in the first part of the race. You look like he absolutely wants further than 2 miles. And on the day, maybe he's going to have Kopak aboard, a true 2 mile, blaze away in the front runner. He could be 4 or 5 lengths clear of him, jumping away early on in the race. So if you're a Lulamba backer, the first 2 or 3 fences, I think, are going to be crucial to his chances. Like that, a lot of people were nonplussed by him after the race. So I think he'd be the type of horse that the bookmakers think, yeah, fair enough, likely winner, probably. But, you've got Kopak, Romeo Kula if he turns up, Cargis if she turns up. He's one to take on at the short prices. There were just too many professionals not impressed by him. So I'm swayed by that, really. It was quite interesting being there.
Yeah, I kind of think you're right, Pat. The shape of the race. You've got Cargisi, Salvatore Monday, Kopeck to board. You probably have 2 of those 3 going a million. And then you've the likes of Romeo Kulo, Capital Pike, and Lulamba are all sort of staying 2 milers in behind. I'm always worried about those horses. Will they get into it? They need to jump perfect to be able to use their stamina at the end of the race. So it's going to be interesting. Haiti Couleurs as well. He really was strong in the Gold Cup market, given how strong the Gold Cup market is. To my eye, I thought that Long Press didn't really run his race, Pat, but the books and the punters seem to be impressed and have latched on to him for the Gold Cup.
Yeah, he's a popular horse in the market, but I do think there was the move for him on Saturday because the out of form Phoenicia Williams had the second favourite, and really he did what we all thought he'd do. He's now 9-1. We were 10 after the race. We laid that. We went 9. He's got that popular profile. To me, he looks the type of horse that's going to try and make the run in. He'll get found out and finish maybe 4th or something like that. But I think he adds a lot of colour to the race now because now he's established himself as he will go for the race. Remember, he won the Welsh National over a lot further. You look at the horses at the top of the market who are unproven over 3.25. Factor File, Django Bai, Gaelic Warrior. They've all stamina to prove, really. So I think if you're a fan or a backer of one of those 3, you'll be groaning a little bit because Sean Bowen's going to take no prisoners on the day. He's going to go out onto Gold Cup Day thinking, my horse wants 3.5 and beyond. And the others, you'll be thinking, oh, no, they've got to keep tabs on him. So that makes it more problematical for those who are unproven at the trip. And Factor File, as easy as the eye as he was in Ireland, I'm sure Connection will be thinking, oh, don't let Haiti Couleurs get too much of a freebie up front. As I said, I don't think he's good enough. I think the classes also will get to him at some stage, but he might make it a little bit tougher for those that who are the form over the 3 miles.
Yeah, and make it an interesting watch as well. A horse, Dermo, if you can get up your Charles novices hurdle past Diarmuid is Active Innocence on the running order. He's in love with this horse. I thought a bit of a high head carriage now, didn't beat much with my kind of read on it. But what about your traders? Is Active Innocence another one for Nicky in the Old Park Star colours?
Yeah, he's very well liked and very well regarded at home in the yard. We were 12 before the race on Thursday at Huntingdon. It was a satisfactory performance. If you're a fan, you'd be thinking, yeah, happy with that. So we went 10 from 12. You've still got no drama this end. Mighty Park, Dr. Steinberg, who was more impressive, I thought. So he sits there around about 10. That's 4th or 5th in the betting. I don't really see him budging from that, but he is highly regarded in the race, and he seemed to get the trip well enough. That was always a bit of a conundrum, really, with him at the start of the year. They thought he was their supreme novice hurdle horse. Obviously, they got one since in the same colours, so he has to go really to the turners. But I thought he got the trip well enough. Was it blown away? Not really. Again, run its race and sure to go well, but I prefer others in the race. Certainly the likes of Mighty Park could be that bit more spectacular.
Yeah. He has a chance, though. A couple of eye catchers in Ireland, Pat, especially for the handicaps.
Yeah, we're playing, guess the JPR movers, really, aren't we? And there's been 2 horses that we've looked at all year thinking, yeah, I know, we won't see the best of you till Cheltenham. The first is Saratoga, who ran really well in the 4-year-old hurdle at Navan over the weekend. And he finished 2nd this time. He's yet to win over hurdles. And he'll be going for the festival handicap hurdle. The Fred Winter, as we'd know it, in old money. And he jumped better this time. His first 2 races, lots of promise, didn't jump particularly fluently. Well, he's got his jumping sorted out, and he flew up the Navan Hill, which is no easy task. The handicap weights come out in, I think, 2 Tuesdays' time. So you're in the dark a bit as to what tax the Irish horses have to pay with the English handicappers. He's one definitely to follow. And the other one is the Wold Park, who, high-class hurdler, you could have easily seen him going down the Stayers hurdle route, but he went novice chasing. He's shown, it's a bit like my school report. It used to say could do better after every race. But last on Sunday, that was the first time he's really jumped well and got into the race. So there's two of JP's. There'll be more, of course, but Saratoga in the Wall Park. We wait to see what the English handicapper does with them. But maybe they've shown their hand a little bit over the weekend. But they continue to have a ring round their names, that's for sure.
Yeah. Both big eye catchers. You're mixing up your Navins and your Nasons, Pat, and you won't be the first and last. They look the exact same on telly as well. They need to rename one of them or something. And what coming up this weekend, Pat? Are you heading for? We've Newcastle, Haydock, and Ascot are the big ones.
Yeah, well, I would have loved to have gone to Ascot to see John Bond go over 2 miles 5 in the Ascot chase. That's going to be lots of fun. But I'm going to be going to Haydock, which is only 30 minutes up the road from me. And there's the Grand National Trial. I'm not sure how many of these are going to have actual Grand National aspirations. They're only like 142, so they might just struggle to get in. But I think at the moment, Dan Skelton's Deafening Silence, who was third in I think it was the Welsh National, that's probably going to head the market for that race. But whether or not we get Grand National clues in that remains to be seen. But John Bond's going to be an interesting watch at Ascot.
Very good. Come here. Your top price, Bet265, if anyone can, it's still there when this comes out. You're 25-1 about Dom of Mary in the Eider Chase Saturday, and that looked massive to me. He won at Newcastle earlier on in the season, then finished sixth in the Welsh National Groundwood in the Suvet. Loves Newcastle. Stay all day. 25-1 with you guys, Pat. If you can, I'll do a bet with you for you on the 365 account if you send me a message after. We'll all try and get on. Pat,
thanks for the heads up.
Yeah. We'll talk to you next week, Pat, and good to catch up.
Lovely stuff. Thanks very much.
Thanks to Pat Cooney. Now, if I was David Jennings, I'd say now it's the moment we've all been waiting for, because this is where the lads are putting up their ante-post bets for the Cheltenham Festival. And not just one each today, multiple. I don't know, is there 2 or 3 or whatever, but Tony, you've 2 anyway, so we'll start with you. A couple of shouts to go on the Shield of Justice.
Yeah, first one is Oscar's brother, who I mentioned earlier. This has to be non-runner no bet now for the Brown advisory. That race has really kind of opened up there in the last week with Final Demand disappointing at the DRF. Talking to a couple of people, read a couple of people who seemed to think it was some kind of a physical issue with his jump and screw and fence and things like that. Doesn't seem like a thing that's easy to sort out. So maybe he's opposable in the short term. And I just really like this Oscar's brother. I like the way he's just built up a load of experience there, kind of an old school winner of this race. What has he had? 5 runs, no harm getting beaten the first couple of runs, experience. What did he beat on Sunday? I don't know, but visually it was the form of the last day is really good with Cocktail Divin, and Boss of the Brownies didn't do it any harm either. He does things right. He had a penalty. He was coming off a break on Sunday, a bit weak in the market. Is he going to kind of improve for the run? Not that I'd say he prefers a bit of slow ground, but he's well able to handle a bit nicer. He's won on yield from there, and I just don't really see him as being a 10 or 12 to 1 shot if he turns up for the race. Like McManus are well able to run a couple of horses in Grade 1s at Cheltenham, and sometimes the second string as one over the years. And yeah, just think he's got as good a profile as any of them for it. Just a really, really likeable type. I love it. He's just the A-test, really. Yeah, so like him. And the other one, Reed and Gordon Elliott's stable here there in the Racing Post. As usual, he's fairly upfront about things. I like that. You can actually kind of take some of his stuff to the bank. Mentioned a fair few horses now that would potentially stay at home. So he must think he has a little bit of a chance in the Trainers' Championship. I think, sorry, that's just an aside to start with. I'm not so sure, lads. When you start looking at these Punchestown Grade 1s that are worth 200,000 and 300,000, I don't know, but it sounds like he's going to give it a lash with maybe the likes of the, Calaconte might well stay at home, and I said there's a few others that list. But the horse that kind of took my eye, and I look, it's forgiveness here, but the yellow play for what was the Current Cup is going to be something else this year. I backed him at 40s ante-post there today. I'm taking a chance. But his far and away his best performance was under what are very likely to be the conditions of the Current Cup. You've the champion hurdle favourite there. He's not too far off him. Your Final Demand. Look, maybe that form is a little bit iffy, but Final Demand did win really well at Punchestown afterwards, and your man is the favourite for the champion hurdle. He won the Charlotte before all that. I think his season has been a mess now. The yellow play. Navan, I'd say he wasn't ready and on ground it was too soft and just a too hard of a race. Christmas, I backed him at Christmas. The guy was happy for the first 2 miles. I thought he was jumping and travelling very well. Maybe he didn't see out the strip, but this kind of horse just goes well in a Coral Cup. You know, kind of classic type, kind of unexposed. He has plenty kind of experience at this stage. Maybe it is the horse that's kind of dropped from graded race and things like that. Because he's kind of said that he's going for the race, I was inclined to take the ante-post price rather than the none-runner no bet. Didn't bother with backing him each way either. No, just because there is a strong chance he's going to bomb. He's just not what he looked like as a novice hurdle bumper horse. I was happy enough taking a chance on those two.
Very good. We could nearly sponsor the race if you wanted next year, because it's not called that anymore, Tony. I don't know if Diarmuid, could we go make inquiries tomorrow, will you? Could we have the Racehour Cup? No one's going to want that race. Cup no one's going to call it whatever the new name is. So we might get it on the cheap.
Casting Cup. No, Casting Cup sounds good, doesn't it? Casting Cup sounds.
Yeah, we'll do a joint one. The Racehour Casting Cup, and
we can be like Final Demand, but just switch silks every second year. So we'll just switch names every second year.
Yeah.
Like Racehour 1 year, Casting Cup, and then Monaghan GA Supporter Club the other year or something. Sure, we can work it all in. The
fire ahead. You have a couple of bets as well.
I have two, yeah. So first of all, I punted this week Salvador Monday actually for the Arkle. Just because I cannot stand the front of that market. I think it's as windy as anything. This horse is windy as anything, but on the days when he's good, he's very good. When he doesn't really do it. But him and Capajoy Pike are the two that people are kind of discussing. Cass, I know you're on a bigger on Capajoy Pike. In fairness, you were the first person I've heard talk about him actually for an Arkle. But Capajoy Pike, when you watch that back first race of the season, Salvador Mundy blows up, but also Danny Mullins gives Capajoy Pike an absolute peach of a ride. He just follows Paul Townend around and just picks it up from him before the last. I thought Salvador Mundy was ridden from the front and blew up, while Danny Mullins gave Capajoy Pike a very kind of go of it. Capajoy Pike next time was absolutely brilliant. Salvador Mundy flopped at Christmas. A good few of them did flop at Christmas, and last time he was very good. Now, the Formula race on Thursday at Thurles is nothing. It's a nothing race at all. The horse in second there, Fishery Lane, is a horse who will be running in a Dan Moore at Fairyhouse next season, off a mark in the low 130s, I'd say. That's the kind of horse he is. He will be winning staying chases, but he jumped an awful lot better. Paul Townend said it felt like he was back afterwards. This was a horse that went off at 9-2 at Christmas. I do tend to track a few of the Mullins horses who get punted off the boards because they're doing something right, like that novice hurdler you liked as well, Cass, who went off like short enough price at the DRF.
On front,
yeah. There will be a handicap hurdle in him at some point as well. They're often these horses that are punted like that from the Mullins yard. They do end up doing something. He's been punted a few times, but more than anything else, he was just brilliant at Aintree last season. He kicked Romeo Couleurs out of the way, and the front of this market, Romeo Couleurs, I just think he's not that quick. Lulamba's not that quick. Kopek, the boards has had a horrible prep. Steel Alloy's very good, but I don't know what he's actually achieved. It gets windier and windier, and at 20-1 now running no bet, I think Salvador Mundy is a cracking bet. And then at 33-1, I do like Zanouche for the Albert Bartlett. It was mentioned directly after the race as well. I punted her. I do think that she will be underestimated because of her start to the season, but Colin Murphy's stable was in awful form. It's kind of only come right since Christmas. Really liked this mare. She won a handicap hurdle very well. She beat a Grandia de Taille the time before last. And then on Sunday, she won a race she had to win. She got him. She was miles better than him, but she had to win that very well to even be considered here. But crucially, she's now on a mark of 130. When you take into effect her £7 claim that she'll take back, she'll be on 137. The Devil, he's rated 141. Now, I know it's often folly to have these horses rated as novices anyway, with no real idea, but she only has £4 to find, really, with the likes of the Devil. Colin Murphy doesn't send many over, but kind of when he does, they really tend to be good. And also the mares he tends to talk about running in open company, they're very good mares generally, as in like this is a trainer of mares. So I thought at 33-1 in a race that we've no idea kind of what's running. I think she's very smart, and going up to 3 miles will suit her. And I just think at those odds, Cass, it's a massive price, really, really big price.
Very good. Recap those there. So there was Zanouche for the Albert Bartlett. How many did you put up?
Sorry. So there, 2. Zanouche for the Albert Bartlett and Salvador Mundy for the Arkle.
Okay.
And Stephen, you were thanks to you at the weekend, who I I forgot to mention that actually. One of my only winners of the weekend was Panda Boy because you going down there. You had a good all day at Nace on Saturday.
Well, I had. It was a bit of a school friends meetup. For the old Dungarvan school friends, and we go somewhere every year. We went to Nace last year. We went to Nace this year. We went to Kildare Town. Kildare Town is a great spot. Great pubs there. After, but yeah, I did a real Irish race course thing now. Brian Gleeson had Panda Boy running, so met Brian in the shop on Friday and said, "We're going up, Brian. If you've any," he told me he wasn't going. I said, "If any of the owners' tickets, leave them for me." So we all got in for free, and then ran into his brother inside, and he handed us the lunch vouchers, so we all ate for nothing as well. It's classic Irish race going stuff. Like I actually felt dirty walking around the place, but there was a few quids. I was driving at the races, but there was a few quids with no pints anyway. But 4 days, like out of these race courses to answer with with the likes of me.
I'd say all those entry fees have it covered to be all right.
Yeah. Diarmuid, I meant to ask you actually about tickets for Cheltenham and Cooney and all these fellas. We'll get on to you about that after. So we can actually you could possibly pay in there either. But no, it was good. It was good crowd there. And the Circle Bar was busy and there was good crack. This great, like it's tiny, so it feels like there's a crowd there if there's anyone there at all. But the food was lovely. Everything was very good. I'm going to put up a bet, right? I mentioned this with Pat Cooney, so people may have heard this, but I actually said to Cameron, will you cut it out? I don't know, did he? Because I had the wrong weekend. I said the Eiders this weekend. It's the weekend after, and there's a horse, our old friend Dean Ryan put us onto this horse a long time ago, Dom and Mary, and he's 25-1 there for the Eider, and it's absolutely outrageous. Like I can't not see him going off a single figure price, like a high single figure price. He'd probably go off 8s, but he won over 3 mile 6 at Newcastle in November, I think it was.
Yeah, that was the race. That was the race you thought was the Eider, wasn't it?
Yeah. They're all the Eider. There's 2 or 3 Eider chases every year up there. So, but he'll stay, and if there's soft ground, better again. He's a crazy price. He went to the Welsh National after he finished 6th, but that was a road that day. Yeah, and he loves soft ground. So I just an absolutely outrageous price. That's what I'd put up. Panda Boy, I thought his jumping was a bit sticky. He won, but Hunter's Yarn wouldn't really stay 3 miles. Now he did well to.
That was a real fight for your love, that race, wasn't it? Hunter's Yarn was under all favourite of yours as well. You love him.
I wouldn't be sentimental about horses though. Like,
I know you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't.
I know Hunter's Yarn, and he's definitely not a 3 miler, so I was very happy to be backing against him. And the Ross O'Sullivan horse, like it was a bit of a Gold Cup day for him because he's locally owned there around Nace, so it wasn't a bad race. But to be honest, I think Panda Boy should have been beating them, and I just thought he jumped a bit sticky. He'd have to jump better out of better ground. But Mark Brazil did say he loved better ground. He will get a bit of space to jump well in Fox Hunters because he can lie up in 4th or 5th because they'll be going a million. But at the same time, I wouldn't be putting him up at 8-1. Much rather backing him at 9-4 the last day, and we'll see what he is and what the ground is like on the day of the Gold Cup. That's what I think with him. What do you think of him, Tony? You wouldn't be a man for the Fox Hunters anyway, yeah?
Can't call the Fox Hunters anymore, Steve, and get yourself in trouble with that kind of talk. But
what? I don't even know what it's called.
It's the Hunter's Chase.
It's the Hunter's Chase.
It's the Hunter's Chase. It's the Hunter's Chase now. So right. And I don't watch them because look, there's only that small handful of them in the year, and sort of just peak with the point to point now. I think at the edge. So I don't know. Always thought Panda Boy would like a bit of nice ground though when he was running on the routes proper, I suppose.
Yeah, he seems to be getting a tune out of him. If you could run into the mid 140s, I'd say you go close to winning that race. So the Fox Hunters is banned. But anyway, if you want to come, I'm doing a Cheltenham preview on behalf of the local hunt here. So if you're in Ireland, it's not banned. So you can come. It's a fundraiser for the local hunt. Frank Hickey's coming down and John Gleeson at the panel. So if we're doing any preview, have you any previews lined up you want to plug, lads? Tony, you normally do 1 or 2.
No, just ourselves, and then one in Belfast the following evening. It's just the 3 I'm doing. Yeah.
And you're teeing up nicely, segue into Dermo there. People can apply for tickets, Dermo, for our preview. Do you want to give the details of that?
God almighty, I completely forgot on Twitter. I was meant to announce those winners at 5 o'clock today, so I better do that. Sorry now. If you're seeing it at this point, you're too late, but DM me away there and I might have some spares left over afterwards.
Okay. And we're recording on Thursday the 29th or wherever. There's no
Thursday the 26th of February, 7:30, which really means about 8 p.m, I'd imagine. And then out on YouTube on the following day, production depending.
Only 4 weeks to go. It's mad, isn't it? It's 4 weeks tomorrow. I only realised that today. It's really rolling in. Seems to be rolling in quicker this year. I think the racing is so good this year. You're not It
Yeah.
isn't a long drain into it. And when are we doing, Diarmuid, we're having a production meeting here live on the podcast, but when are we doing the favourites yes or no podcast?
Favourites, yes or no, is next week, and we
Okay.
have Andrew Blair White is joining us. So
Great.
just because it's we all think so separately that having 3 or 4 of us, we just wouldn't agree on anything. So it's good to bring in an outsider. So he's joining
Nick,
us next week. Yeah.
Nick, look, watch out, because that was pretty smooth there the last 3 minutes as we were jumping around doing our plan and live on air. Right, that's been the Racehour podcast this week. Thank you, Tony Keenan. Thanks, Diarmuid Nolan. Thanks, Dean Ryan, for last week. Thanks to our sponsors, Bet365. And we'll see you all next week for the big yes-no favourites podcast thingy.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Cheltenham Star into submission.